All right, so we should be live. So everyone, just please refresh your pages, and could you please do us a favor and let us know in the chat when you can see us and hear us. Again, just big favor I'd like to request, let us know in the chat when you can see us and hear us. Now, I actually ask this because I had a really bad experience once upon a time when I was going live. Now, Lauren, I don't know if you've ever had one of these like nightmare situations, but it was one of my first ever webinars. And then I went back into the chat after like 10 minutes and everyone told me like, you're sharing the wrong screen. I had been like sharing the wrong screen the whole time. So now I always ask at the beginning, and it looks like everyone can see and hear. Now, the other thing that I was asking is if everyone could just let us know in the chat where in the world you were joining us from. Some people are doing this already. And Lauren, I have to say, your audience is really international because instantly we had people going India, Colombia, Egypt, California, New York, Bengaluru, Florida, Germany, Brooklyn, Minnesota, South Carolina, Texas, Mexico, Canada, Washington State, Canada, Kansas City, North Carolina, Catskills, Luxembourg, Florida, Virginia Beach, Calgary, Key Largo, Singapore, Central Illinois, Las Vegas, Rochester, Guadalajara. So I have to commend you for
Wow.
getting folks here from all over, and they're really excited. So I'm tuning in from New York City. And Lauren, where are you joining us from?
I am in London right now.
Nice.
So, yeah. Well, welcome everyone from all around the globe.
Now, before we dive right in, it's 2:01 for me here in New York. And before Lauren takes us away on the presentation, just wanted to make sure that everyone knows a few important things about how to get the most out of this webinar. Okay, so I'm just going to very quickly share my screen with everyone so you can just see a few important things. So you're going to be watching this webinar. It's on a screen. It looks something like this. You've got the video on the left and the chat on the right. Now, if things are looking like a little bit blurry, like a little bit hard to read or out of focus, make sure you're watching in high quality. So click that gear icon in the bottom right and change the quality to 720p, the highest number possible. Now, if things are a little bit small, don't worry. You can always go full screen. Just hit the full screen button at the lower right-hand corner. Just know that when you do that, if you want to ask a question in the chat, you'll have to temporarily exit full screen to ask it in the chat. Now, the last thing I will say is that there is no such thing as a bad question. And I'm going to be writing down the questions for Lauren all throughout this. So ask any questions you want during this. But there's one question I don't want you to ask because I'm going to tell you the answer right now. You will get a replay. There will be a replay. You're going to get the replay automatically. There will be a replay. And it's free. The replay is free. So if someone joins the chat late and starts saying like, is there going to be a replay? I just need your help. Can you like type in the chat? Yes, Cameron told us there's going to be a replay. That would mean a lot to me. So now Lauren, it's 2:02. So I'll let you go ahead and take it away.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. First of all, I'm going to say that this is my very first workshop. Go ahead and share my screen. This is my very first workshop on this topic. I created this presentation specifically for this workshop, and it's a part of my business and what I teach that I'm the most passionate about. So you're probably going to see me like very animated with my hands, but yeah, I'm really excited. So thank you for being here. And I'm going to talk fast because that's just my style. That's what I do. And I'd rather give you a lot more information. So yeah, we have a lot to go through today. So first of all, today we're going to talk about Alex and I's first blog that we started and the very first product that we created, which absolutely bombed. We did not start out a big success by any means. We made tons and tons of mistakes, and we're going to go through kind of what was missing in those first few months of trying to get our first blog off the ground and to sell our first product, to make that first bit of money online. And we're going to talk a little bit about sales and marketing. Now, I know that that makes everyone just really cringe, at least it does for me, because I am an accountant. I was an accountant, and I didn't know anything about sales or marketing before I got into my business. And yeah, I know it's like a scary topic, but we're going to talk about why it's not so scary. And then we're going to go through the three-step sales sequence, and we're going to show you how to scale this to 6 figures. Now, I am your host. My name is Lauren McManus, but I do want to introduce my co-founder, Alex Nerney. Alex and I both run 2 blogs together, 2 full-time blogs. I was a CPA. I was a tax accountant before I became a full-time blogger. I had absolutely zero experience in this. I was climbing the corporate ladder, and that was going to be my life until Alex decided he had this idea to start a website. He kind of dragged me into it. Alex was a personal trainer before we got started. So neither of us have any kind of business background other than going to college for business. But now for the last 4 years now, have been running our 2 blogs full time. So let's talk about our very first blog. It was a health and wellness blog, and we were under some kind of impression that if we just got drunk off of mimosas and took some photos, some cool photos of recipes that we titled things like bangin' beef tacos, that we could earn some money doing that online. And I know it sounds incredibly stupid, and I guess it was, but we were trying to actually create a blog for people like us. At the time, we were 25. We were super into health and fitness, but we also wanted a way to find a healthy lifestyle that also worked with, having a social life, drinking at brunch and whatnot. And so I do make jokes about it, but we actually did have some really, really great content. We had tons of excitement, tons of energy. We poured quite a bit of definitely time, but also money into it, because we bought quite a few courses, a lot of software, to try to learn how to make money with this website. And at the time, again, we didn't know what we were doing at all. And we saw that other people were making money doing this and that. And so we did spend the money to try to learn from people. And we poured our hearts and soul into it. We created this awesome diet program. It was called the 21-Day Fat Loss Challenge. And it failed. It failed so bad. We had one person purchase it. Her name was Anna G, and I will remember her name until I die, because it was devastating. But the bottom line is we had great content. We had a great name. We had a great design. I think so, because I designed it. I'm a bit biased. And we had a great price. It was only $7. But we had the wrong audience. We didn't know who our audience was. Now, fast forward a few months, and we have our second diet program, which you see is still called the 21-Day Fat Loss Challenge. And this is the program that we actually still sell today. And this time we had great content, same name, I think a better design, a higher price point. We went from $7 to $47, and we had the right audience, which made all the difference. This is the product that we still sell today. Alex and I run 2 successful 6-figure blogs. We essentially went from zero on this first health and wellness blog to earning $100,000 in our first year. We still run that today, but after that first year, we started Create and Go. And that is where we teach people this whole process, this whole trial and error process and whatnot that I'm going to teach you today. This is what we teach on Create and Go. We teach people how to start blogs, how to get visitors to them, how to write content, and how to make money through selling their own products. So this is just kind of how Alex and I got to where we are today. How did we get there, right? So what happened in those first few months? Well, it was trial and mostly errors. So many errors, all the errors that you can possibly make. We did it. We did all of them. Like I said, we spent a lot of time, we spent a lot of money, and we just tried out a lot of different things. And eventually, a few things started to stick. But some of the biggest mistakes that we made were, number one, we had no idea how to sell, just had no idea what we were doing. We had never sold products online before. We didn't know who we were selling to. So trying to sell a product without really knowing exactly who you're selling to as well, good luck with that. And lastly, we just didn't take the right steps in the right order. So you saw that 21-Day Fat Loss Challenge is the product that we still sell today. We just revived it, and knowing a little bit more about how to sell, but also who we were selling to, made all the difference. So taking those right steps in the right order to be able to identify these things. So the real piece of this puzzle there is that sales and marketing, but also with that, the right audience, because, sales and marketing, you can't sell without knowing who you're selling to. And again, I know that this term sales and marketing, people tend to be afraid of it. It's what often keeps people from creating their own products and from trying to sell them, is because the thought of trying to put yourself out there, you have these like feelings of imposter syndrome and feeling like you're not good enough. Why would people buy my product? And it feels kind of scammy to sell things. It freaks us all out enough that makes us not want to create products, makes us afraid to create products. So instead of these scary terms of sales and marketing, let's instead think about, I want to ask you, can you talk to people? Can you share your experiences with other people? And can you make friends? Because if you can make friends with other people, if you can connect with other people, we're talking about connection here, then you know how to do sales and marketing, especially if you are in a business that you're passionate about, right? So this connection, it's all about communication, sharing your story, and yeah, really just connecting with others. That's what we're going to talk about in this presentation. So it's not some big, you know, here's these steps that you need to do to sell things. It kind of is, but it's really just about connecting with other people. So it's something it's a skill that anybody can have. And I will say that at the beginning of our business, when we were getting started on this whole process, Alex used to write all of our emails and all of our content because I was just afraid. I was just afraid to put myself out there to ask for a sale for a product that I created. And it really took a lot of experience and just trial and error and doing it over and over again that made me really comfortable. Now I jump on these presentations because I love what I do and I love talking about it. So it can be as simple as that. And I'm going to show you how in this workshop. So, but it's not just about that how, it's also about that right sequence. Selling is all about the sequence. So it's about the when you're also connecting and what pieces of the story you're telling at which time. It's about the how and the when. So let's talk about what people think success looks like. A lot of people think it looks like this graph right here, where you have a really great idea, you write what you think is some really great content, and then you create a product or something that you want to sell, and then you link that amazing product in places where you talk about it, you know, in your blog, your website, whatever it is, social media, and you just wait for the buyers, right? But unfortunately, really making money with your business is about so much more than just a great product and a great price and just a few hopes and prayers. We know this because this is the process that we took in the beginning, and we tried a whole lot of other things, but it's about so much more than that. Success really ends up looking more like this graph on the right, bunch of squiggly lines all over the place. And between content and making money, you actually have quite a few other things that make up what we call an email funnel. So this is what we're going to talk a lot about in this presentation. And this is it. Your graph looks a lot squigglier, but actually if you take the right steps and you take them in the right order, you do the right things, your success graph is actually going to look a little bit more like the one on the left. So we're talking about trying to straighten out that squiggly line just a little bit more. And when you take the right steps, yeah, it ends up looking a little bit more like that. So let's talk about what the difference here between those two graphs that we just looked at, the straight line, the not straight line. So when you're talking about, you know, your readers not having an email funnel, just think about the blog and the website content that you have, driving, you know, traffic from social media, people reading that content. I call it traffic because those people that are reading your stuff, your content, they're not an audience in that they're reading your stuff. If they're visiting your blog a lot to check and see that if you're posting new content, then maybe they begin to become part of your audience. But really it takes a lot more than that to actually turn a reader into someone who's, you know, considered like a more of a fan and part of your audience. And on your traffic, you can educate a bit, you can begin to make some connections, you can talk about your story and your content, you can begin to pique some curiosity, and you can include some links to your products. But what happens when someone turns from a reader into a subscriber, when you're able to send them emails and you're able to send them more content, you're able to educate them more about the problems that they're facing, which is the topics that you're talking about on your website. You're creating more curiosity. You're beginning to build a relationship with this person. And by that point, when they do hit your sales page, they're buying a trusted product because they know you. They know what your story's about. They know why you're doing what you're doing. They even know a bit about your product because you've begun to educate them on all of this stuff through that relationship. And that's when they're going to buy everything else that you sell. When they become buyers and they become lifelong fans because they become lifelong fans of what you do. So you can see there's so much more that happens underneath the surface here. And It's so, so, so important to take people through this
Lauren,
process.
just a heads up, we're getting some folks in the chat saying that the audio is a little bit like there's something brushing against your headphone mic, I
Oh,
think,
it's my
which
hair. It's my hair. Sorry, y'all.
there
Yeah,
we go.
that should be better. That should be better. I should know that from recording my
I just
courses.
noticed it right now after someone pointed it out in the chat, and I couldn't unhear it, so I had to let you know. But it sounds
Yeah,
good
I
now.
think my mic is on this side. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so it's about this funnel and these steps, but it's also about doing it the right way. Because I know that a lot of you are probably like, yeah, I know about email marketing. I know about writing emails, the importance of it, but I'm going to talk more about what's the really, really important part about this. And so what does this actually look like in practice? That's just kind of like the 30,000 foot overview of the approach. Now, we have what we call a 3-step sales sequence. It's super, super simple. Number 1 is build your audience. Number 2 is get to know them. And number 3 is you help solve their problems. It's really as simple as that. Of course, there's some additional pieces of the puzzle. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into this, but that's really it. And it's important to do this in that right order. So if you think about solving those problems first, if you think product focus first, like that product that I showed you, our first one, we created a diet program, but we didn't have an audience yet, and we didn't get to know them yet. So it was entirely out of order, despite the fact that it was a fantastic product. Didn't matter. Nobody's ever going to see it or buy it if you don't take these steps in the right order. So the strategies behind this 3-step sales sequence, it looks a little bit like this. Number 1, you create sales-centered content. And we're going to dive into each of these a little bit deeper, but sales-centered content overall is just content that attracts someone that's really interested in what you're selling. So the right kind of person that's going to be interested in what you're selling. Because if you're attracting people who would never buy your product, there's really no point in even driving that kind of traffic to your website if they're never going to end up spending any money with you. Unless you have ads on your website, that's about it. So from there, when you attract that right person, then you want to attract them with even more with a product focused opt-in. And this is just a freebie that you have on your website that's even more targeted towards the things that you teach, the products that you sell, or services, if it's coaching, and any of that. And so that's how you capture their email address. And then from there, you have your email trust funnel, which is a series of emails designed to educate, to build relationships, and to begin to tell people about what you're selling. And then lastly, again, by that point, they're hitting a trusted sales page because they already know you. So the number 1 step is to build your audience first. This is the number 1 thing that Alex and I did wrong the first time around because we had created that product first without building that audience. So it's really, really, really important. This is one of the things that Alex and I really try to drive home in all of our courses because everyone thinks about money first. And I get it. I did too, because, I was working full time. We both were when we started our business. And so you think money, everything's about how to make money, but you have to build an audience first. You have to think about who you are connecting with and who you can serve before you before you go down too much down that path of creating your products. So again, this is at the reader stage, and you're attracting that right kind of reader, the one that's interested in what you're selling. This is the very first step of funneling in the right kind of person. And you can do this with what we call sales-centered content. So this is just an example of one article. It's how to lose 7 to 10 pounds in a week. This is just an example of one of our sales-centered content pieces. And you're going to see these goals in quite a few slides here, because this is going to be our overall theme of what we're going to keep really drilling down through this funnel. And the goals are that you want to draw your reader in with a story. So it can be your own story. It can be a client story. It's always best when it's your own. In this particular case with our health and wellness blog, it was more the stories about our clients. So, I was a vegan for 2 years, and Alex was a personal trainer. So he had been teaching people how to lose weight in real life before we did it online. So we would talk about the stories that we had with teaching people how to lose weight. So we draw them in with a story. We educate them about the problem, because the fact of the matter is, people would be able to solve their problems if they knew exactly why, if they knew more about the problem and why they couldn't fix it. So when you begin to educate them more about why they're struggling, that's what's going to begin to make them really, really interested in creating that curiosity. Next, you want to include your mistakes along the way. That's what makes you relatable. Because if you share the same mistakes that they have, then they're going to think, oh, okay, well, I know that, you know, you've had these results, but if you also were exactly where I am now, like, it makes you very, very relatable. Next, you want to tell them how you overcame that problem. How did you fix it? And lastly, you provide a solution, which is your paid products. So when you create content around the topics that you teach about, this is what begins to attract the right kind of people who are more interested in that paid information. And from there, the next step, moving a reader into a subscriber, is you want to also get the right kind of person to sign up for your email list. So you've already attracted the right kind of person to that content. And then from there, you want to offer some kind of freebie or lead magnet, an opt-in, whatever you want to call it, free checklist, free guide, free course, planner, worksheet. But it's important to create a product-focused opt-in. And another story in the very beginning, this is what I call our opt-in graveyard. And I honestly think I should sit down and count it, because I think that Alex and I had at least 15 different opt-ins over the span of the first year, probably more like 20, but because again, we just didn't really know what we were doing. So we would create freebies, just like you're seeing on the screen. Let's take the 50 everyday uses for coconut oil as a great example. We had a lot of people wanting to sign up for this freebie. They loved that freebie. But guess what? We were selling a weight loss program, and we had just attracted people who wanted everyday uses for coconut oil. That attracts everybody from people who are interested in diet to general healthy living to cooking to fitness, you name it. They're not targeted specifically for a weight loss program. So this is a little bit of what we learned with. We could get a bunch of signups to different freebies, people that wanted our content, but they weren't the right kind of people. And at the end of the day, if they're not at all interested in what you're selling, they really aren't of any value to you, in a sense. So it's important to create a product focused opt-in. And it doesn't mean that you have to have your product already created and you know, picked out, but as you begin to figure out which topics you want your paid products to be about, this is when you want to begin to design opt-ins that are related to that specific topic. So the more related that is, the more targeted of an audience you're going to attract. So you're going from content, already getting some targeted people there, and then a freebie that teaches them even more about this particular topic. So people that then sign up are even more interested in the topic that you are trying to sell them on. The next step from there is you want to get to know them. So they've subscribed for your email list. Now you have the ability to send them emails and to get to know them better. So from here, you're going to begin building relationships with them. You can educate them a little bit more. We used to ask a very simple question in our very first welcome email that was, what is the number one thing that you are struggling with when it comes to losing weight? And we didn't just get replies that were, you know, I've tried 7 different diets this year. I'm tired and I can't get to the gym. It wasn't that. We would get responses like, I'm 40 years old. I have 2 kids. I have tried 6 different diets this year. I'm suffering from PCOS. We got full-blown stories. And from these responses, we were able to begin to figure out who our target audience actually was. And that's how we began to build better relationships. Because once you know who they are, you can begin to speak to them specifically, not just everybody who's interested in coconut oil everyday uses, to the person who's interested in weight loss, and specifically for us, fast weight loss. So this is where you begin to work with people, or you begin to talk to your subscribers and begin to turn them into buyers. And we do this with what we call an email trust funnel. This is just a simple 6 to 7 emails. At least that's our number. It could be less, it could be a little bit more, whatever floats your boat. But you'll notice that the goals here are the same that we just talked about with that sales-centered content. You draw your reader in with a story, generally a story about you and your experiences. You educate them more about the problem. In this case, this was an email for our yoga program. It was yoga for weight loss. And the subject is yoga better for weight loss than cardio? And because people often think that cardio is better for weight loss than yoga is. So we're educating them more about that and kind of busting that myth that people believe. And there we're going to include our mistakes along the way. So I talk about how my weight fluctuated, how I couldn't really hit my stride with running, sharing my experiences and my mistakes along the way. Then I tell them how I overcame the problem. And eventually I pitch my paid product, which is a yoga for weight loss product. So that's just kind of a overview of how the email trust funnel works. You just send a series of emails that are dedicated to making a connection more with these people, always providing value to them first and foremost before you ever ask for a sale. And you do this again through generally educating them and sending them content related to the products that you're selling. And lastly, you help them solve their problem. So again, that education, talking more about the specific problem, you're beginning to help them solve your problems. And you want to give them enough information that that shows that, you know, you definitely have a paid product that they can purchase, but you want to make sure that you're always giving enough value there to them as well, that if they don't want to buy your product, they don't have to either. You're still providing that value up front. Now, at this stage, when you're getting people to click over your sales page, a lot of people are, you know, this is what a lot of people do. They create this amazing product, and their sales page reads something like, here's my product. This is why it's awesome. This is how much it costs. Buy it. I've seen so many people, their sales pages just, it's kind of like, obviously their pages are designed better than that, but that's kind of the story that their page presents. Just here it is. Here's a nice picture. This is why it's really great and why you need it. Here's how much it costs. Link to my checkout page. And this is what everyone does. And I did it too. And this is why people struggle to make money selling their products. So I like to call it a trusted sales page. Here's a quick little screenshot from one of our sales pages. And it says right at the very top, our blogging career started out with a big fat failure. We start out with reader first. You'll see these same goals over there on the left, same goals. You draw your reader in with a story. So it's the same story you'll notice that I began this presentation with, because I wanted to relate to you. I wanted you to know that I'm not some super successful entrepreneur. I still have a lot of microphone problems. I talk too fast. I still get really nervous before presentations like this. I want to be relatable to let you know that you can do this. And that's why we share a story in everything that we do, because we were just like you before we got there. So make sure you're doing this. And once they hit your sales page, you're not done telling them about your story. And I mean, you obviously don't want to make it all about you, but it's important to tell that story and then relate it to them. So think about what you're telling it to, relate it back to them. And the other thing with these goals that they're very repetitive. You're not telling them the same content over and over and over again. And I don't want it to sound like that either. Think that they're going deeper down this funnel. And with every piece of information that they keep reading of yours, it's another chance for you to dive deeper into that story. So you're not just talking about the same thing over and over and over again. You're beginning to teach them more and tell them more about your personal story with each one, and relating it a little bit differently as they go through this funnel. So again, same steps, educating them, including the mistakes along the way, tell them how you solved that. And then at the end, the solution is your product. So that way your sales page honestly reads like a story. Everything reads like a story. It makes it easy to digest. It just makes sense, rather than hitting a sales page and you're like, what are they selling? Who are they? Why do I need this? No, ain't nobody got time for that. Instead, they've hit your sales page. They already know a good bit about your story. They probably already know a bit about your product, and they generally know a little bit more why they need it. So if they've gotten to this point, they're pretty targeted and they're pretty engaged with you and your content and what you do. So huge difference between hitting a sales page at that step and hitting a sales page just from clicking on random links off of your website, without building this relationship first. So I say all of this to begin with the end in mind. And remember that it does not mean at all that you have to have your product created and figured out first. In fact, I don't recommend starting out right off the bat with that unless you really, really have a good idea of what you want to do and how you want to do it and who you're going to sell it to. But your content, your opt-ins, your emails, and your sales pages, all of these should be connected. You should tell your piece, or you should tell your story in absolutely everything with everything that you do. And again, if you don't know what you want to create a product on, it's perfectly fine. You can have 15 different email opt-ins if you want to try to figure it out. That's what we did at the very beginning when we didn't know what we were doing. Hopefully what I'm teaching you, it won't be quite that hard for you. I'm trying to speed up that process a bit. But yeah, so important. So these stupid mimosa photos that I look back on now and I'm like, I was ridiculous. But that person that I see right there, I worked really, really hard. And I'm still proud of it, and it's still a proud part of my story that I like to share. So no matter what, be honest, be super transparent about all of the struggles that you had, the emotions that came along with that. Tell your story and add value every step of the way. If you do this on all of your content, you're going to turn your readers into subscribers. If you do it in every single email that you send, you're going to make more of your subscribers buy your products. And when you create multiple products, that's what gets people to buy up everything that you have, because they relate so much to your story and what you're teaching, that they want to learn from you specifically, when they could buy anybody else's course, ebook, online program, coaching out there. And lastly, once you start figuring all this sort of stuff out, I can promise you that there's a little bit more to it. This took us a few months to figure out, but once you begin to start figuring it out, those pieces, that's when you can begin to scale it. So we like to call this the 6-figure sales equation. This equation is actually more the seven-figure sales equation, because if you have a strong relationship, a strong product, and a strong audience, strong traffic, you can earn 7 figures, because you only actually need 2 of these to earn 6 figures. And I know this because we've done this with both blogs. We've had different pieces of this equation. So on our health and wellness blog, we had a strong product and we had strong traffic, and we earned 6 figures. We didn't really have the strongest relationship with our readers, because it turned out that once we learned who that target audience was, they happened to be 40 to 50-year-old female. And at the time we were 27, single, no kids. So it was a little bit harder for us to relate to them. We still had the experience, especially Alex as a personal trainer with his weight loss clients. We still had the experience to be able to teach them. And, but it was just a little bit harder for us to actually relate to them, because instead we were sharing stories from other weight loss clients, not our own personal weight loss journeys. So the relationship wasn't as strong, but despite that, we still made 6 figures. With Create and Go, we have a strong relationship, strong product, and a strong traffic and audience, and we make 7 figures with that blog. And if you want to try to scale certain pieces of this, you can certainly focus on other traffic sources. We went from only doing Pinterest traffic to also creating a YouTube channel to focusing on Google SEO as well. So that was how we got more traffic. You can build better relationships. So invest more time into really connecting with your audience, learning how to write better, really just reading the feedback that you're getting from people, absorbing it, and building better relationships. And lastly, you can create more products, because from the first ebook we created, when we created another one, we immediately saw our income jump. And then from the third weight loss product we created again, and the same thing with Create and Go. By the third course, with each course we created, we boost our income up a little bit each month. So those are also the ways that you can begin to scale what you do, but it all starts with this simple sequence and this simple funnel. So you need to make sure you do those things first before you focus on massive sales and marketing campaigns and driving tons of traffic, making tons of sales. It's not about that. It's about getting the small things right, and then you scale it afterwards. Now, if you're nowhere near this point, if you've just started your blog or website, or maybe you're not even there yet, maybe you just have some ideas, no worries. I do want to let you know that we have a free blogging bootcamp for beginners. It teaches you how to start a blog, kind of start that process. So if you're not at that point yet, feel free to sign up at that for that at createandgo.com/blogging bootcamp. Or if you just want to get on our email list as well, there's that. But of course, if you do want help with this process, this whole process that I've been talking about today, this is what we teach in our 6-figure blogger course. And it's all about earning 6 figures with your blog through selling digital products or services without being scammy, without needing to be some kind of expert. I definitely don't want any imposter syndrome. We teach you how to build the foundation and the framework. So the things that I've told you right here in this lesson, going through these right steps, we teach you how to build that foundation. We teach you how to sell affiliate products if you're interested. So we actually, our first product failed. And when that one failed, we didn't immediately just jump into revamping our second one, because we didn't know who our audience was yet. So we went through that process of that opt-in graveyard, and we actually were selling affiliate products for a while just to get a better idea of what our audience was interested in, whether they were interested in yoga or weight loss or a fitness program or a recipe book, all those different sorts of things. So we do teach you how to start out with affiliate marketing if you're interested in that, if you're not ready to create a product just yet. So there's that step. We teach you how to formulate ideas and plan your product. So if you don't know, we teach you how to ask your audience, how to do some product research to get a better idea of what you might want to create your product on. Then we teach you actually how to create a course or an ebook from scratch, using the same process that we still use today to both create and update our courses and our online programs. And we'll teach you how to create high converting sales pages. So exactly what to have in your sales pages to tell your story and the headlines that keep grabbing people and just keep them reading more, to keep them reading every single section on your sales page rather than skimming it, leaving it because they're not interested. Super, super, super important. We also teach you how to create sales-centered content. So to be able to get those right kind of visitors who are interested in what you're selling in order to start getting them through that funnel. And then lastly, we give you our email marketing funnel templates. So we have exact templates within our course on that 6 or 7 emails that I told you to send, that you can send to your audience to begin building relationships and to actually pitch your product, but feeling good about it, not feeling scammy, not feeling like a fraud, an imposter, and like you're trying to sell someone and who's going to listen to you, right? So we tell you exactly what you can write in these emails to begin building those relationships. It's the exact process that we use to create and sell our 6-figure products. There's the 3 different weight loss programs that we sell on our health and wellness blog. It's called Avocado. And also all of our students, we have over 12 or 13,000 students now going through our courses that are creating all of their amazing products and selling them. Anything from happiness courses to training for marathons and legal bundle packages and learning about how to do the Instagram, learning how to beat the Instagram algorithm, TikTok, SEO. We have one here I see on newborns. So we have all kinds of students in all kinds of niches creating their own products and selling them. And I just want to tell you just a very quick story from someone else, because obviously you know that I have done this, but this is our friend Natalie Bacon. And Natalie was making a little bit of money when she came upon our 6-figure blogger course. She was making about $2,000 to $3,000 a month, selling some affiliate products, and she had been kind of just stuck there for a while. She had begun to build up her audience a bit, but she was lacking the confidence and the push that she needed to create her own products. She knew that that was next. She just needed that push. And very quickly, Natalie boosted her income. She doubled it to $4,000 to $5,000 a month. And she's now making over $35,000 a month, which is just absolutely incredible. She now has her own YouTube channel, podcast. She's become a certified life coach. Natalie was a lawyer, so she had tons of student loan debt, and she paid off $206,000 of student loans with her blog. So Natalie's being a very dear friend of mine. This is a photo of the 2 of us at Traffic and Conversion Summit a couple of years ago. So yeah, just another example of somebody else doing this in a totally different way. And we also, with this course, we also give you tons of support. We have a course support group where this is a terrible thumbnail of me giving a Facebook Live. I generally pop in there every month or 2 and just ask students questions like, what are you struggling with? What do you need help with? And yeah, I try to work through some of that with them. We constantly update our courses, like several times a year. So they're always updated as technologies and whatnot change, but just a few more things that you get along with the course. And yeah, that's it. That is our 6-figure blogger course. It's all about this process. One other thing I do want to say is that it is, of the 3 courses, it's our slightly more advanced course in that it's for creating your own products, and it's for the things I talked about in this lesson. So it's not about starting your blog or writing your first bit of content. It's really about thinking about what kind of products you might want to sell and beginning to build that relationship to sell them. So just make sure that you're kind of ready for that stage. We do definitely teach you exactly how to do it. And if you have even product ideas in mind, it's a good idea to buy it just so you know what's in store for you. But yeah, that's kind of who it's for and who it's not for. All right, I'm sorry, I've talked really fast, but I just want to make sure I got through everything and that we had plenty of time for questions and answers. So I think I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Are you there, Cameron?
Yep,
All
and
right.
that was great. So I'd love to see, people were asking questions in the chat. So ask any questions that you have in the chat and I'll get those over to Lauren. So one question from Carrie says, how do you decide if you should be selling an ebook or a course if your audience seems divided in survey results?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it matters on there's a few different things that you need to consider there. And how you want to structure yourself as well, because people pay more for courses than they do for ebooks. There's also a lot more work involved. You have to be on camera, do a lot more. So if you want to structure yourself into selling higher priced products, courses are for sure the way to go. But there's also a lot more to consider there, because, you know, we sell courses on one blog and we sell ebooks on another. And we've tried to migrate towards courses on both, but it didn't work. And the reason for that is because our audience is a 45-year-old female, and they're just, I say 40, I mean, literally it's anywhere from like 35 to 65 or 70. So our audience, just the course thing just doesn't really work. We tried to have free courses within our emails, and it was a really bad fit. So think about how you want to position yourself, the different price points. And just thinking more long-term, if you really want to make more money and you think that you can sell courses, I think courses are a better way to go personally, because people just will pay a little bit more for them. But a lot of people also start out with an ebook. Natalie Bacon, who I just talked about, Natalie started out with, I believe, 2 ebooks before she created her first course. So that was kind of how she got her feet wet. There's like a mini ebook. I think she sold it for $20-something. And then I think it was like her third product, which was a course, she ended up selling for $200 or $300. But she started out to get her feet wet with the ebook. So you can definitely start there. And you could also, Natalie's also morphed her stuff as well. So she's added lessons, and she's morphed her initial small ebooks and programs into huge coaching programs. So to our ebooks, we've added video lessons like as supplemental to that. And if it would have worked with our audience, we could have turned them into full-blown courses. So there's a lot to think about there. And at some point you might just have to do a little bit of trial and error. Ebooks are easy to create, so you could try that first, but yeah.
Yeah. So Christina has a good question here. So Christina says, my niche is gardening. So I'm struggling to come up with a downloadable product. So what would you advise someone like Christina, who might be, you know, in a unique niche and is struggling to come up with like a downloadable product for their audience?
For sure. Well, I'm not a gardener myself, but I would just, the thing that really helps to attract people to your freebie is generally highlighting pain points. So if you highlight problems that people are facing, it's going to remind them of like, oh yeah, I struggle with that. So, you know, because you can highlight results that, you know, you could talk about making a whole lot of money versus saving a whole lot, or talking about, you know, being broke, but it's often the pain points, the emotions that get people to really like take some action. So off the top of my head, without being in that niche, I would think about what you're going to sell. So if you were to sell a course on how to start like an organic vegetable garden, or, you know, something like that, then you would want to create some kind of freebie or course or whatever on maybe some of the things that people are struggling with, like some of the biggest places that people go wrong, right? So I started out this presentation with the 3 biggest mistakes, because they're mistakes that most people make. So those are things that people relate to. So try to think of whatever you're selling, or whatever type of information you think you want to sell. Think about what you were struggling with at the very beginning when you were learning how to do all this, and then think about ways that you can offer that. And when it comes to opt-ins, if you're selling a course, one of the best ways to sell that course is with a little mini course opt-in. And same with like an ebook. It's like, if you're selling something like an ebook, you probably don't need as much as a mini course freebie. It could be something as like a free checklist or a little handout. But if you are selling a more expensive, bigger course, you'd want to create a course around that too, a mini course.
That makes sense. So looking through this, so Victoria suggests perhaps a watering checklist as a product idea. So Madison said, you know, niches are saturated with products. How do you set yourself apart?
So you tell your story. I like this question because it's something that we all think about. It's what keeps all of us frozen and not taking that next step forward, is everybody else is already doing it. So why would anybody buy from me? And I can tell you that we started in weight loss, which is like the number 2 or 3 most searched topic in the entire world. It's one of the most competitive niches. It's also the reason why we only sell $47 products. We don't sell really expensive products, but no matter what, we took a blog from 0 to $100,000 a year in one of the most competitive niches out there, just through driving free traffic on Pinterest. And it's because we did it in a unique way. We paid a lot of attention. So rather than doing these things where people they create an opt-in, a freebie, and then they wait for subscribers, and then they sell a product and they just wait for people to buy it. But instead of just creating a couple things that we thought worked and waited around, Alex and I never quite sat still with it. We created multiple different opt-ins. We watched the conversion rates on every single one. Okay, 50% of people are hitting this page and they want this freebie, but 70% of people are hitting this page and they want this. So more people are interested in this. And so we paid attention to the analytics behind that, and every day, every week, we were looking at ways to keep improving our conversion rates on our emails, on the open rates, on the clicks. We did pay a lot of attention to that sort of stuff. So you have to pay attention to who you're talking to, and yeah, it's a process to begin to learn that, but that's kind of like the scaling and optimization as you begin to get better and better and better. Yeah.
So one thing that I'm seeing here, Dora says, she's kind of curious about like how you scale this. So she says, when you're getting to know your audience, do you respond to each email and personalize the responses? What if you get a high volume of questions or emails?
Great question. I used to answer every single email. Thankfully now I've run 2 blogs and I don't answer any emails anymore except for when they come from my team. But I absolutely, you need to answer all of your emails, because that's how we figured out who our audience was. What I was saying earlier about asking people what's the number one thing they're struggling with when it comes to losing weight. We got responses, we had to read them, and we had to respond. And at the beginning, that's a great use of your time. You're building your audience. That's a huge part of it, is learning who they are and what they need help with. So definitely do that, but also pay attention to the things that people are asking. Because if you're getting the same questions over and over and over and over again, then try to figure out how you can best circumvent that. Kind of like when Cameron said the question about, is there going to be a replay? He made sure to say that because he knows that he's going to get that question over and over again throughout this presentation. So he mentioned it from the beginning to mitigate that. It's the same thing. We have people asking the same question about our products. When we get someone asking it enough, we put that as an FAQ right in our sales page so that they have the information that they need. Same thing when they keep asking in emails, make sure to just edit your email and include that information there so that they don't have to ask for it. So it's time intensive in the beginning, but you begin to get way faster at it. And at some point you will definitely be able to hire someone out to help you manage that.
So Marlene says, where did you park your content where you started? Or did you have a website when you started developing your content?
We didn't write any of the content before we started. Maybe we had 1 or 2 articles written in a Word document, which is still how we write our articles today. But we started out our blog with maybe 1 or 2 articles, and that's the number one thing that we did in the very beginning, was just focus on content, just writing. We're writing quite a bit of content and beginning to try to get readers to it, because that's the stage of you can write content, but if you don't yet know who you're writing it for, you just don't really know exactly what that end goal of great content is going to be. So write a good amount of content, and there's no you can start a blog or website with just 1 article. We generally recommend it to be more about your story and why you're starting this website, but you don't need any amount of content to start. And we didn't have this grand idea of all this content before we got started. It was just 1 or 2 weight loss articles, and we just kept spinning it from there, going on Pinterest, seeing what other people were searching for, what was popular, and writing content based on that, as well as the topics that we knew about.
So Ashley says, how do I know what to put in my free content that is on the same subject as my paid product without giving away the goods for free?
Great question. So we always say, tell them the what to do, but not the how to do it. So our best freebies that sell our products, they're the same ones that we have had for years now, because they work and we haven't had to change them. And they're all essentially sample versions of the paid product. So for the weight loss one, for example, it's a 21-day fat loss challenge. And the mini guide is just a sample version. And it really does give you a 50,000-foot overview of what to do to lose the weight. For instance, it says cut out carbohydrates. It doesn't tell you exactly which ones to do for exactly how long. It doesn't tell you how to reintroduce them. It doesn't tell you what else to eat during that period of time. So it gives you need to give them enough information that it spikes their curiosity and they're like, oh, wow, I haven't actually tried that. I think that could be something that could really work for me, but not enough that they're like, yeah, I can do that on my own without your help. I mean, so it is a bit of a balance, but just think more about telling them the what to do, but not the exact steps on how to do it, which is what people pay for.
Nice. Now, Michelle says, how do you try to figure out your target audience? So if you're asking your subscribers for questions and you're asking for feedback and you're not getting any response, how do you figure it out?
Well, I think, I mean, okay, you can certainly look into things like analytics. So wherever you're driving your traffic from, you can look at the platforms. If it's Pinterest, Pinterest has certain demographics. You can see, okay, 85% of my audience is female. Google Analytics is the best way to really see that. You can see where people are coming from. You can see their average age, and you can see their demographics. So that just already will give you some kind of idea. It might not give you the specific, okay, they're a 45-year-old female, but are they a single female? Are they a career gal? Are they a stay-at-home mom? It won't give you that detailed information, but that was also what Alex and I did when we kind of just started creating a bunch of different kinds of content. So we started with our health and wellness blog. We started writing about everything from healthy living to fitness to dieting to weight loss to yoga, all kinds of stuff related to the very broad topic of healthy living. And we were driving traffic on Pinterest and we learned that some articles were getting way more traffic than others. That let us know that, okay, this is our really popular content. And we actually let that lead us down the direction of really focusing in on the two subtopics, which were weight loss and yoga. So I definitely try to engage more within your emails. You can also build things like online communities through Facebook and other places to begin to try to get people. But no matter what, it does take some traffic to get that, because you need subscribers to be able to get enough responses. So focus on content, focus on driving traffic, create a variety of different topics or content around a variety of different topics to try to see what's popular and what's not.
So we have Roz, and Roz says, do I need to have a blog before I start a course?
No, you don't. It is the way that we teach. We find it works really well that way because we go through that process, like I said, of drawing people in from platforms to content, and then sending them more content through emails. You can certainly have sales pages or even just email opt-ins, and you can drive traffic straight to those. But the thing is, you generally have to use paid traffic to do that, because people aren't just you're not going to be able to get a whole lot of organic traffic just straight to a landing page. They don't rank well in Google SEO. So it's not like you're going to rank for certain keywords, because if somebody else has a whole blog piece of content on that same topic, they're going to rank above just your landing page. So it becomes a little bit harder, I think, to build that relationship. But there are definitely people selling coaching services and selling products where they're paying for ads and driving them straight to email opt-ins to start some kind of like free challenge. Actually, an Instagram ad just got me a couple of days ago on a 14-day hair challenge, and I bought the products and I didn't even know who they were. They had some great ads and a great landing page. Definitely possible. We've chosen the route of doing it through content and through blogs, but it does work the other way as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, Kaylin has a really good question. How do you find the right balance for price between making it affordable and having people see the value in it?
Yeah, that is a great question. We did, this is one of the things that we cover in our course as well, but we just did research. We looked around at what other people that were kind of doing things in the style that we were, other bloggers, for example, we looked at what they were pricing their products at. And we found that the average weight loss product was about $47. And that's what we ended up selling ours for. With our Create and Go courses, we saw people selling courses anywhere from $47 to $97 to $1,000. And we ended up, some of the other really popular courses that we saw in what we were doing, we decided to start out on undercutting them a little bit. So just pricing ours a little bit lower, still very competitive, not enough to make someone only want to buy your course because it's way lower. It was very competitive. It was just a little bit less. but and we've also raised some course prices over time. So, and we've also actually lowered some prices and raised them over time on our weight loss blog. So there isn't necessarily a great way to do this other than just doing a little bit of research. And I would say that like whatever you're finding, and if you're a blogger, look at other bloggers, trying to find some kind of maybe happy balance. If you want to go after $1,000 product because you feel that like you can do that, there's tons of people making a lot of money doing that. But if you're doing that, you have to have a really great product and you have to sell really, really well. But the other thing is if you price too low, you're going to require too much, like a lot of traffic. And that can be difficult, whether it's getting profitable ads to your stuff or even just getting enough organic searches and people visiting your content. So if you price it too low, it's also difficult.
Question in the chat here. What if I want to sell physical products or services alongside passive content? Do you recommend starting that right away or waiting to target those things to the audience?
We do have one physical product on our weight loss blog. It's a probiotic, but it's a little bit different though, because we sell that really specifically to our weight loss clients. It's available to purchase right on our website. We have it linked in some articles, but we talk about it a lot within our paid ebook online program. So it's really marketed more at them. So it's difficult for me to say because we don't really do e-commerce in the sense of just having multiple physical products for sale. But I think that it can absolutely work. You just have to figure out how you're going to do it. If you're on a platform like Pinterest and you have a really great product and it's very visual, then you can often, or even Instagram actually works really, really well these days for selling physical products, and people are just running ads to it. But it's like I just mentioned though, with the person that asked whether you need a blog to be able to sell your content. Same with physical content or physical products is that if you're not using content to help educate people on why they need something, it should be very visually stimulating. So do a really good job at taking photos and showing someone why they need a product very quickly. And check out Instagram ads if you need an example of how that's done, because within seconds, they flash photos and quick videos and you're like, wow, I need that. I've been gotten by too many Instagram ads lately. They've gotten really, really good. So physical products aren't quite as much in my wheelhouse in terms of like e-commerce. We sell them through blogs, but I hope that kind of answers the question.
So Adita says, if you're thinking about driving traffic to your blog, what are some of your top ways for doing that?
We drive most of our traffic through Pinterest. One of our 3 courses on Create and Go is entirely about driving traffic to Pinterest, because if you're a blogger, it's one of the best forms of traffic, just because the way the platform is set up. You look at all these Pinterest pins, video content's not doing super great on it, but even the videos are often sent to blog content. But similar, it's a search engine, so similar to Google, you are searching for a topic and you're clicking on it and you're going straight to a blog post. YouTube's fantastic for building relationships, educating people because they see your face. But people are on YouTube and they're watching videos and they don't really like to be taken off of YouTube to sign up for an email opt-in or to read content. So depends on what you're doing. We definitely use the YouTube channel, but it's only to supplement our other traffic from Pinterest, and we also go after Google. So what we tell our students, especially because you don't have money to spend on ads yet, or some of you maybe ever until you have a really successful product, but Pinterest is a great place to start because it's one of the easiest ways to get free organic traffic. Google is something everybody should focus on unless your niche is just ultra competitive. We don't really focus on it in weight loss because it's just too competitive. But the thing with even Google is that if you are driving traffic from sources like Pinterest or YouTube, Google can recognize that and you'll begin to rise in the Google algorithm as well, just because they can recognize that you're driving other traffic from other sources. So yeah, Pinterest is our best place to start. Facebook's too competitive unless you have a lot of money to spend on Instagram or on ads, because the organic reach is just terrible. Same with Instagram these days. Instagram's really great for selling physical products, or if you're going to be on it, like having a lot of stories and like really, really relating to your audience, they can see you. It's also good. But if you just want to write content and tell people about your story that way, Pinterest is the best place to do it.
Sam says, how long on average does it take for pins to become established and drive traffic to your blog? And it looks like we'll take maybe a few more questions because we're coming up on the hour.
Um, you know, it depends. There are certain things that you can do, like using Tailwind tribes to increase your reach on Pinterest. If you're starting out from absolute scratch, it can definitely take a few weeks to a few months to like really get some traction. But it depends on a lot of things. Right now, video pins are huge on Pinterest. So if you create video content, they're going to, even if you're kind of brand new, they'll show that content more than they'll show regular pins. So, and I mean, one of what we teach in our Pinterest course too is about just creating fantastic Pinterest pins. Because if you can make your pins stand out, I kind of had a knack for it, despite the fact that I've had zero graphic design skills or experience ever. I just kind of had a knack for it. And it's something I devoted a lot of time to learning how to create better pins. And so we were able to get our content seen a lot faster because when people begin to click on it and engage with it, Pinterest will show it more. So it's kind of up to you in that but remember, it's also a search platform too. So you're also limited to the amount of searches. So there's weight loss is searched way more than business or money or finance. So no matter what, you're likely to get more traffic in a niche like that than you are in business. Depends on your niche, depends the kind of content you're creating. And yeah, but if you create better content, more engaging content that really piques curiosity, you can make that happen in as little as just a few weeks.
All right. And looking back here in the chat, we had a good one earlier. Which was it? Sorry. So if someone is deciding between, like if someone is thinking about a product for moms and they're trying to decide, should I be creating, like what type of free and paid product they should be creating for that? What would be their steps to go about doing a little bit of initial research?
I think that if you're kind of open to where that takes you, again, Alex and I started out with a blog aimed at 25-year-olds and ended up in a totally different place teaching middle-aged women how to lose weight. So as long as you're open to where your people will take you, I still think that one of the best ways to do it is kind of what I was saying a little bit earlier about creating a lot of different types of content. So if you're talking about, mothers, it's creating everything from, maybe having babies to middle-aged kids, like teens, whatever it is, creating different types of content that would relate to a few. You probably have some kind of an idea of like maybe it's this or that. So create a few different types of content around that and just see what's most popular. Again, that's what we did. Even it's what we did on Avocado, because as I said, we did healthy living, fitness, weight loss, yoga, all those different things. And we looked at which articles were most popular, but kind of the same thing with Create and Go. And that Create and Go started out just as we created a Pinterest course, because all we knew at the time was that we made some money online and we knew how to do Pinterest. So we created the Pinterest course, and then we created Six Figure Blogger. It was like, make money with your product. And then people were like, well, I don't even have a blog. Like, how do I even do that? And so then our first course we created last, because we realized that with what we were talking about in our content, we were attracting someone who was not at that stage that we were selling to. And we're like, oh, okay, let's take a step back, teach them how to actually start the thing, build it, and then take these steps. And so now we understand that we know that this person, the average person that we attract, is at this stage. So again, it takes some communication through your emails, through your content. Try to ask for comments on your articles. You can start a Facebook community. You can ask questions in emails. Try to get that engagement and create content that attracts multiple types of people without being too vague and too, that's, I know it sounds a bit messy, but that's kind of the process that we took anyway, if you're still really not sure.
Okay. And I think it's probably about time to wrap this up, but I would love for everyone in the audience just to say thanks to Lauren for sharing so much with us today, really being generous with her time, with her information, and answering everyone's questions. And Lauren, well, the thank yous already start coming in. Do you want to give us any final words, or where can people connect with you?
Yeah, well, thank you all for being here so much. As I said, I was really excited to give this presentation because it's something that we talk about in Six Figure Blogger, but these types of presentations aren't ones that we do often. So was really excited for it. And yeah, if y'all want to know more, you can find us at createandgo.com or on YouTube at Create and Go. Just search for that. We also have a free blogging community on Facebook. You can search for us, Create and Go, through any of those ways, and you can find us. So thank y'all, everyone, for being here, and see you
All
next
right.
time.
And everyone's saying, thank you. Thank you so much, Lauren. Thank you so much, Lauren. You're awesome, says Roz. So everyone really is appreciating it here. All right. So everyone, you are going to get a replay soon. So make sure to keep an eye on your emails. But thanks so much for attending and hope to see you on the other side in the course. All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye.